What if this is the end of Jrue Holiday in Boston? He wants to stay. He believes there's still a window to win. But does anyone else inside the Celtics organization still believe in him? After a humiliating elimination to the Knicks and a flood of trade rumors, Jrue Holiday broke the silence. He spoke from the heart. He admitted the failure, but he stood firm. I still see a window. I still want to be here. The problem is, the NBA market has no mercy for heavy contracts or aging veterans. And the uncomfortable truth? The Celtics might be ready to turn the page, with or without Holiday. Could the silent hero of 2024 be tossed aside like just another name on a luxury tax spreadsheet? Or is there still room for loyalty and legacy in the cold, calculating world of the NBA? Stay with me until the end, because Jrue Holiday's story in Boston isn't over yet. And the next chapter might be the most dramatic of them all. Boston took the court carrying the heavy weight of being the reigning NBA champion. They had 61 wins in the regular season, the third best record in the league. The roster? Stacked? One of the most complete lineups of the modern era. Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, Holiday, White, Horford, plus a reliable bench and a coach who had matured under pressure. Confidence was sky high. The city was dreaming of a back-to-back title run, something it hadn't seen since the 1960s. The narrative was perfect, and yet everything collapsed. Suddenly, all the carefully laid plans went straight into the trash. Porzingis, a key piece in Joe Mazzulla's tactical setup, was struck by an illness midway through the series against the Knicks. It limited his mobility and stripped him of his ability to stretch the floor. But the final blow was even crueler. Jason Tatum's Achilles injury in Game 4, the kind that makes everyone hold their breath for a few painful seconds. The face of the franchise went down, and with him, Boston's hopes crumbled. Game 6 at Madison Square Garden felt almost symbolic. A 119-81 loss. A beatdown. The Celtics looked unrecognizable. The defense, once impenetrable, turned into Swiss cheese. The offense, once fluid, became pure chaos. That team that had dazzled the NBA for months was now just a distant memory, a spectacular failure at the worst possible time. And in the middle of all this, Jrue Holiday, always composed, went straight to the point. We let the city down. We had the best team in the league. He didn't run from it. He didn't point fingers, but his words echoed something deeper, the feeling that the championship window may be closing faster than anyone imagined. Now the big question is, will the front office buy into that narrative? Will they chalk this up to bad luck, to everything going wrong all at once, and believe this group still has what it takes to fight for the top? Or will they use this collapse as a reason to cut costs, create cap space, and start reshaping the roster? Because let's be honest, the numbers don't lie. The Boston Celtics are on track to have the most expensive payroll in NBA history. Nearly $500 million between salaries and tax penalties. It's a staggering amount, even for a franchise with Boston's legacy. And in that scenario, every name becomes a spreadsheet. Every contract becomes a financial dilemma. And that's where names like Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis come in, two expensive veterans with injury histories who could easily be seen as tradable assets. Jrue Holiday is still one of the best defenders in the NBA. That's not up for debate. Once again, he was named to the All-Defensive team. He finished top 6 in the Defensive Player of the Year race. His game IQ, ability to guard multiple positions, and calmness in clutch moments remain elite. But despite all that, the veteran has entered a turbulent zone at 35 years old, with $32 million guaranteed for next season and a declining offensive output. Just 11.1 points per game, his lowest average since 2012, Holiday has become the most talked about name in trade rumors. Not because he's a problem, but because he's starting to look like an expensive luxury for a franchise facing brutal financial decisions. And the situation couldn't be more complicated. the Boston Celtics are on the verge of having the most expensive payroll in NBA history, nearly $500 million when you factor in salaries and luxury tax penalties. It's a staggering number, one that forces even the richest franchises to think with cold precision. Every player is judged not just by on-court impact, but by the cost-benefit ratio of their contract. And under that lens, Holiday lands right, in the eye of the storm. But there's another angle that can't be ignored. Teams like the Lakers, Bucks, and Suns would be desperate to have someone like him in the playoffs. A guard who defends, stabilizes the offense, avoids mistakes, and brings championship pedigree. There's massive demand for that profile. His market value is still alive. But for how long? That's the question haunting Brad Stevens. Do you trade him now, while he still has value? Or do you keep him, risking a sharp decline in performance just months from now? This decision goes far beyond X's and O's. It's a moral test, an ethical dilemma about the franchise's identity, because keeping Jrue Holiday would be a gesture of trust in a player who gave everything on the court, who helped deliver the 2024 title, and who, even after the painful loss to the Knicks, stayed loyal, saying in no uncertain terms that he wants to return and run it back. I still feel we have a great shot. I want to be here. I want to win again with this group. Holiday's words weren't just rhetoric. They were emotional, a heartfelt plea, a declaration of commitment that few would make while trade rumors swirl. And that raises a tough question. How much should a franchise value loyalty? Should the Celtics reward Holiday's posture, a player who played through injuries, defended like a warrior, and never complained? Or treat him as just another chess piece in the cold game of NBA roster management? From a practical perspective, trading Holiday would clear cap space, offer more flexibility to re-sign others, and maybe even bring back valuable assets. But it would also shatter a bond of trust. It would send a message that even champions, even the committed ones, can be discarded in the name of financial logic. And let's be honest, are the Celtics willing to risk losing more than just a player? Because Holiday is more than his numbers. He's structure, he's a pillar, he's the kind of guy who anchors a locker room, sets the tone on defense, and becomes the example for the younger core to follow. What if the Celtics make the mistake of giving up their defensive heart? Let's be honest. How many players in the NBA have the composure, control, and competitive instinct of Jrue Holiday in the most intense moments of the season? How many can shut down superstars without needing the glory or the spotlight? How many are willing to be the invisible piece that makes the team work without complaining about touches or headlines? He locked down Luka Doncic in the NBA Finals. He did what seemed impossible. He reduced the offensive impact of one of the most creative players of this generation. Alongside Derek White, he led the most feared defense in the league, not just through numbers, but through posture, awareness, intelligence. He was the invisible shield that allowed Tatum and Brown to shine, and still, now his name is the most mentioned in trade rumors. Trading a player like Jrue for a draft pick, for a promising young talent, for a cheaper fit? On paper, it might make sense. But what about in the heart of the team? Can Jrue Holiday's presence be measured on a spreadsheet? The NBA has become a business obsessed with numbers, analytical models, and efficiency. But there are things that don't show up in statistics. The silence he forces upon opposing scorers, the confidence he brings to the locker room, the ability to calm the game when everything is falling apart. That doesn't show up in a box score. But anyone who follows Boston closely knows, without Jrue, the team's defensive structure shakes. What few are willing to say out loud is that if the Celtics choose to let him go, they'll lose more than talent. They'll lose identity. They'll lose their soul. They'll lose emotional stability. Because Holiday is not just another point guard. He's the moral pillar of the team, the quiet reference, the veteran who leads by example. And in a locker room full of stars, egos, and massive contracts, having someone like him isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. The front office might try to justify a trade with cold logic, trimming salary, getting younger, planning for the future. But is there a future without a solid culture? And more importantly, is there culture without sacrifice? Imagine the message a trade like this would send to the locker room. Even if you're a champion, even if you give everything on the court, even if you're the best on defense, you're still expendable. That kills trust. That chills the atmosphere. That breaks chemistry. It's a moral risk. And we're not talking about a player who's asking to leave or whose performance has dropped to the point of being a burden. Holiday still defends like few others, still brings consistency, still matches up well with anyone. Yes, he's aging, but he's also adapting. He knows how to play off the ball, how to position himself, how to win. And more than that, he wants to stay. He's said it publicly. He didn't play coy. He didn't make demands. He said he loves the team, the city, and the group. In times when players constantly force their way out, that should count for something. A lot, actually.